Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the first Transpicuous Views of 2018. What the fuck we care. Tonight, we're gonna do some digging. We're gonna do some fact finding. We're gonna see what we can dig out here. I'm being joined tonight by Jordan Sather, over there, up there. I'm not sure how everyone sees us on the screen. He's above me right now. Hey, Jordan, how's it going? You're muted.
I'm unmuted. It's going beautiful. How are you?
Good. Are you a little cold?
I'm a little cold.
Yeah, a little cold.
I'm at a latitude that I wish I wasn't at right now. I'll just tell you that.
You know, smart people don't visit Edmonton in January.
Well, I'm not a smart person, so it's okay.
Should have asked some Canadians for some advice before you decided to go.
How are you doing?
Good. Really good. It's been a very, very weird couple of months. And the last couple of weeks has been just like, what fucking planet are we on this time? Especially this last week.
Yeah, honestly.
Yeah. Which we're going to discuss tonight. I wanted to do a round-out show to kind of end 2017 and talk about, there has been so much happening in the last 2 months. Like ludicrous amounts of everything coming at us, like from the media, from politics, from financial stuff, for everything. And of course, one of the big things is the Q-Anon stuff. So I haven't had a chance to track it. I mean, as it's been coming up, I've been getting little pieces here and there because, of course, in the Unfuckers group, everyone's been posting bits and pieces. But I wanted to go through because, as we did the discussion last week with Jeff and Ben about, gee, why does it feel like I'm back in 2013 again? Some of this stuff seems to keep coming back around again. So we're going to talk the QAnon stuff and some of this other bits and pieces that are all around happening around that stuff. And Jordan was the person to go to because you're following this stuff like to the minute almost.
Yeah, it's like it's got so many people on the edge of their seats, and I love just sitting there and throwing up the page and just watching all the posts happen of different people digging and whatnot and lurking around on the 4chans and the 8chans, as they say. I don't post anything, but I just watch it. And it's fascinating.
Well, and of course, because of everything that happened and what I was doing back in 2012.
And I remember that because that's when I first became aware of removing the shackles. It was one of the first blogs that I started really reading, during my awakening process. So it does really seem like everything's coming back around, and you begin to realize like years are just numbers. And is this, this is all reminiscent of 2012. It's like that cycle is coming around again for another chance. And it's all shaping a little differently. But with all this QAnon stuff coming out, it's like a salvo to help really stimulate the collective consciousness to get everybody doing the work and actually researching and connecting dots. And because if that wouldn't have happened, who knows where we would be at, even 2.5 months on since this QAnon stuff really started. So, but
that's one of the things that I find very interesting, and that is one of the, and we kind of touched on it in the discussion I had last Saturday. That we're different people this time.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
oh yeah.
2012, none of us, and I'm going to say that quite confidently and say, really, none of us were anywhere near the level of comprehending the depths of the fuckery. And I mean, just even politically and financially. I mean, the depths that we've gained in our comprehension in the last few years has been unbelievable compared to where we were in 2012. And our comprehension of reality itself, perhaps, is been hugely expanded. And that's the difference I'm seeing compared to 2012, is where people sat back and allowed themselves to be fed.
That's a good way to put it.
People now are actually hunting it. Like the people like, that's the one thing about the 4chan stuff and this QAnon person, whatever.
Yeah, whatever thing.
Whatever. And we'll get into the whatever a little later. It's interesting because the way it's been presented has encouraged people to think, not just accept, but like go digging, go, what is the information? Well, what is he referring to?
Yeah, and you even look at like the presidents, right? So back in 2012, it's like what we had ruling us was like a collective expression of what we were all what we were doing, because we were all being so passive. And then we had Obama up there who just, when I look at Obama's energy, I see somebody who, everybody was waiting for him to be the disclosure president. And maybe he was supposed to be, but he wasn't because we weren't ready. So then I think Obama got compromised, and you saw how his hair grayed and things just completely shifted under him. And then I think Obama kind of turned towards the dark side, because you don't just order $65,000 worth of hot dogs to the White House. But so we needed a new opportunity, obviously, and that's where Trump comes in. And Trump could obviously go either way. He could go the way of, some people have said, controlled opposition, but he could also go the way of the people, and that's just dependent on us. So like you said, maybe dependent on us, but
I'm still, the whole thing with Trump is actions speak louder than words. And I've watched so many things that he's, this whole fucking Israel and Jerusalem and the fucking embassy and the fucking shit with Saudi. And so, I mean,
I am watching, I'm seeing a lot of stuff fall in Saudi Arabia, but in Israel, I'm waiting. And that's one of the keys. It's like, if nothing happens in Israel, then obviously it's new girl, different party dress. And I actually got that phrase from you. Every time I say that one, I'm like, I got that one from Danny. But anyway, I did see today, though, there was a Israeli ringleader of a large organ trafficking ring that was arrested in Cyprus. So I'm seeing little bits and pieces, but of course we want that to go to the top. We want that to go to Netanyahu and Mossad.
And we keep hearing bits, we hear Netanyahu's under investigation for fraud over here.
But he's been under investigation 6 times, like the 6th one, when something's going to show,
And that's it. When it came out, this last one, what was last month? And I just kind of was like, yeah, right. When they actually arrest the guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they keep investigating and nothing ever fucking happens.
Yeah, it's just a show. Cop knocks on your door. Hi. Hey, Benny. How's it going, buddy? Yeah, just kind of routine, standard off.
Yeah.
See you, pal.
Listen, we got to come in and ask you these questions. How's the wife and kids? Yeah.
The kids under the basement, they're doing okay too. Okay.
So we're gonna.
Where should we start first? That's what I want to know.
Stuff that bugs me is because there seems to, I'm going to put a proviso up onto this and say I haven't read enough of the QAnon stuff to know that if whatever is saying Trump, i.e. yay Trump, or if that's the interpretation that's being spun on it by those who are bringing the information forward.
No, it is. The Q posts do say that they have stated or suggested that Trump was offered the presidency because he was shown how much shit was really going on in the world. And originally Trump didn't want it, but when he was shown how much shit was going on in the world, he said, I don't want this type of pedophilia and Satanism and blood drinking and whatnot to happen. So he took the job. And that's the suggestion, which, one thing I am seeing when I do look at the 4chans, it is heavily MAGA, heavily MAGA, heavily pro-Trump. And there is a lot of conservative, you could say conservative. I don't want to say Republican necessarily to like get into that duality, but it's like a very conservative lean and still very religious and biblical. And there's a lot of superficial biblicalism, which, you can be super biblical if you want. There's nothing wrong with that. I personally wasn't raised that way, but if you don't look at it deeper, then, you're boxing yourself in. So,
well, and that's the difficulty with, if you don't have the time to read every one of these updates.
Yeah, it gets really difficult
to get your own feel, to kind of trying to discern for yourself. You end up relying on the people to bring the information out, and there's spin. And I mean, like I said, back in 2012, I dealt with that spin all the time. Like, because most of my contacts were hardcore Republicans.
Yeah.
So I had to, and every bit of intel that came in, I had to go, right, and that's coming from you, and I know that you are a Bible Belt frickin' Republican.
Yeah,
so
let's super lean on you.
So, with a grain of salt, and let's, try and focus. So let's talk about the QAnon stuff. I want to go back to the kind of the beginning when it first really started coming out. And that's actually when I was following a little bit of it. What were the first bits and pieces? Like, kind of, it seems like it's played out almost like a poker game. Like there's been hands that have been played, and they seem to come in groupings. The information as it comes out. Yeah.
So essentially, they started on, like you said, the very tail end of October, really on Halloween. I would pin the day they started, and they were large chunks at first to kind of lay out the situation. And now they've resorted to just kind of small bits and pieces. And, the latest ones might be even just a few words or whatnot. But what it outlaid is like essentially a group of people. You can't even say one person. A lot of people are trying to pin Q as being like one person. And I'm like, no, not one. Personally, I think it's maybe a group, even posting from different devices, and these devices might even have certain encryption standards or whatever the case is, but multiple people, it's been said, are posting as Q data they want to get out, essentially, of a real-time takedown of these Satanist, Luciferian kind of cabal members. And there have been a lot of, it's mostly phrased as questions, as kind of you've seen, and different data points. And a lot of these data points are done specifically to corroborate certain, like, even tweets or pictures or whatnot. Like Q posted a picture, and then 2 days later the Department of Defense Twitter posted the same thing, or there's some word highlighted in a Q post, and then Trump tweets 10 minutes later that word in a tweet. So it's like very interesting connections to suggest it's legit. And I think there's a lot of like deeper reasons why this is done, but it's obviously done to, stimulate people's collective consciousness in the long run. But that's kind of what it's all seems to lay out.
Have we seen names named? Like, okay,
yeah.
I mean, besides Hillary, because like, we all like throwing fucking rotten tomatoes and nuclear weapons at Hillary. So besides that, like, are we getting like the goods on like?
What's interesting about them is they've been like so expansive, and there's about 500 posts now, I think, in total, like near 500-ish. And it's been about the Rothschilds, Soros, even asking questions about Antarctica and missing money from the DOD, and going into lots and lots of things that, you know, it's almost, sometimes I call it a conspiracy theorist wet dream, because it's making connections. Some of these connections I know I wasn't aware of, and I've been into this 5-6 years, definitely not as long as some, but I've been deep into it as hard as I can, really. So it's like, wow, I hadn't heard of this name or this connection or anything like that. And it's painting things from, you know, what it's saying is like there's white hats in the intel community, primarily the NSA and naval intelligence and marine intelligence, that are working in concert with this administration. That's kind of what it's painting out. So if you look at the Q post from a perspective of, say, some people in the NSA that have access to maybe quite a few special access programs, but maybe not all of them. And that's what you always have to understand, is there's so much compartmentalization at all levels in the military. It's like, okay, when I look at the Q posts, understanding them to be people that, yes, are taking down the Satanists, but maybe they're not aware of a lot of spiritual truths or a lot of certain things, or deeper understandings, even the straw man concept, or a lot of that, you know, sovereignty understanding. So it's, you have to look at it with the perspective of what it's from, which is huge.
And I mean, that's actually a really good point, is we know these agencies run under extreme compartmentalization, like to the extreme. And there could be people, and I hadn't thought about that, but that's actually really pointed. You can have people who they know this is fucked. From a moral viewpoint, they're just like, you know what, this pedophilia shit, holy shit, not on my watch, fuck. Exactly. And they start like, okay, I got to do something, and they start working. It doesn't mean that guy is awake. Doesn't mean that person that might be handling that intel and you know, as a white hat, fully comprehends what's actually going on. He could be coming from a viewpoint of just one thing really is like, no, I'm not gonna, no. And that's where it's going to be interesting if we see this information come out. I mean, the actual, like, you know, documentation come out. Because if you have someone who's completely asleep, you can hand them a pile of documents, and he's going to see what he sees, that he comprehends.
Totally.
Whereas someone like you or I and everyone else in this group would go through those same documents and go, whoa, you missed the best parts. I get you're upset about this, but you missed all of this shit over here. Because they don't have the comprehension of it.
And it's like, you can say maybe Trump's read in on a lot more than previous presidents, but that doesn't mean he's read in on everything. You know, and you can just speculate on that. It's all you can really do at this point.
This is true. This is actually very, very true. And yet we have to cut that piece out and kind of highlight it and say, we don't know what he knows and how much he knows. And it could be literally simply a stance of, he gets the pedophilia shit, and as a parent, he's fucking pissed, and that's one of those triggers for him. Purportedly, he has a vaccine-damaged son. His son is vaccine-damaged, and so I know that Trump has kind of he's said quite a few things in the past about anti-vaccine stuff. That doesn't mean he knows everything.
Exactly. I've seen vaccine, the climate change. I've seen an interesting video on his of 9/11. So there's certain things where it's like, okay, but then, like you said, there's definitely the rest of it. And that's, you know, with this QAnon stuff, that's kind of why I've been into it, but I'm still kind of taking a semi-neutral perspective, and like, I want all of it to come out, not just this stuff. But then looking at it as well, what the market they're hitting, going for 4chan and going for 8chan, they definitely are hitting that kind of market that is very, you know, America kind of issue. And, you know, that's what they're doing. The nationalists, the patriots,
and the
the God bless the patriots kind of stuff. So, okay, understanding that, you know, like us, we get it from such a big picture perspective that we're thinking of things cosmically, not just of this planet, but everything. But they're hating the people that want this nation to succeed. And then seeing that, there's certain ways you have to look at these posts to kind of really gather them. But from looking at them, I feel like they are legitimate.
Well, I'm always my go-to is always like pics or it didn't happen.
Yeah,
right.
There has been some picks, a few interesting picks, and that's what we're waiting for, man. We're waiting for some of the if I don't see some kind of arrest within 2 weeks or 2 to 4 weeks of a name on a banner across some kind of media network that is.
We want to see it on CNN. We want to see
CNN
reporting this. Yeah,
precisely.
Well,
and it's like how much how much blue balls are you going to give us while we're just waiting for these indictments to hit or that boot to come off and show an actual ankle monitor or something like that. And but at the same time, it is a very complex. Like I don't even know how to imagine the complexity of the situations that this kind of mass arrest thing would be that we all heard of 5 years ago. That's just coming around again. So. Is it like make or break this time?
And that's, I talked about this on Saturday.
Uh-huh.
For those who didn't see the recording, that was my point, is it blew my mind where over the course of last Friday, Saturday, we're into, getting into the new year, right? And we're right in that, what I call that fuckery spot between solstice and about the second or third day of January every fucking year. Weird fucking shit happens. And we're right smack in the middle of that. And we got talking. I was talking with some friends. And then all of a sudden, shit starts coming up. And I went back to look at Removing the Shackles, the old Removing the Shackles, and reviewed the shit that I wrote between mid-December to mid-January. And I was jaw on the floor. It's an exact repeat of what we're hearing on the 4chan stuff. I mean, to the craziness of, like I said, to the point of I was talking about the ankle bracelets, and I was joking about the fact of why Hillary came back from her, head injury and wore nothing but pantsuits with really, really loose, baggy pantsuits. And we're seeing it come out again. And I know, like I said, it was as I went through the stuff, reading the stuff, it also gives you the reminder, it brings everything fresh back in your memory, the stuff that I was told through various contacts that I had. And there was stuff that I couldn't tell publicly at the time. So, but all that comes back in, and you what the fuck? And what we saw happen, because of course, January 2013 is when Obama did his big, what was it, the 22nd, when he does the big presidential speech and he's sworn into office again.
Oh, right, yeah.
And the intel until about the 5th of January was hardcore. Hardcore. I mean, I had so many verifications across the board, not just from in the States, but from across the pond. I was getting it from multiple agencies. And then it just disappeared. And even the people who I spoke to were just like, we don't know. We've got nothing. Was
there a mass arrest scenario supposed to occur?
It was all supposed to be a mass arrest scenario. Obama was being arrested. There was an interim president going to be put in power while he was, taken out of power. And the interim president was to be in charge of things.
Right.
While they started the proper constitutional election process, done properly without all the cheating and all.
That was the time frame where Drake punked everybody, right?
Exactly. We're not even going to get into that.
Yeah, or whoever was telling Drake.
Yeah. Drake's a jerk. Trust me, I know him.
Okay.
We saw this, and we saw it dry up completely. And I mean, it was as if it didn't happen. As in, it didn't happen. And that's why I joked about the fact of are we in a loop? Did we somehow jump a timeline, jump to a new fucking time shift on a different reality where that literally did not happen? It was crazy. And then we see this stuff coming out again. And so, I mean, I'm jaded. I'm going to be the first one who can say I'm seriously fucking jaded about this shit, and I need some fucking proof, like hardcore. And then we start seeing some hardcore proof, then I'll really, really start
opening up to it. Yeah, so much. Yeah, I understand the jadedness.
It's tough. It's a tough road to walk because, and I've actually said this for the last few years, that I think that that's part of the plan. Is I honestly think that some of the shit that's fed through the alternative media deliberately is to work people up and then drop them, and work people up and then drop them, so that you get to a point where you don't believe anymore, where you can't, you're just like, you're
numb to it.
And fuck. Jade Helm, perfect example. And then all this shit about November 5th. Everyone was like, oh, November, it's all, and everyone was like literally losing their minds. And nothing happened. Exact same thing again. So,
and kind of compare. See, you, that was like the 2012 was the beginning of my whole, like, what the hell is going on process. So that was it's not like I was been jaded multiple times. That was just like my first letdown. And then I went, and it's all coming back up again. So that's why this time I'm like, I don't know. And I'm trying to compare the situations, because this one's playing out we're getting so much specific, I don't know, since it's coming from the Chans anonymously, it's as if that was the literal only way to do it. Because before we had just heard from people like hoping and going through the grapevine, and this person, and that's never going to work out, because A, people are going to figure out the plans, and B, I mean, like you said, everything was just so much, the energies were so passive and so different back then. Now it had to come through the Chans, because you can't attach a name to it, then you just get distracted. And then they could also phrase so many questions like directly to the people, and it wouldn't have been, it's not able to be, you can't break the trick codes and find out where they're at or who it is or anything like that. So it's always, it's the poster coming from the same person, and it's just stimulating the people, to do the effort and connect the dots and, do the thing. And if this, to me, it's got to pan out to something. This is going to pan out to something.
Yeah.
Like it has to. But then the question is it going to be a full thing or a bullshit false flag, half sack, false flag, psyop, another ruse? So,
and that's it. I mean, that's always everyone's concern, and it's so hard to try and maintain that neutral impartiality where you can kind of go, okay, yeah, it could be really good, or it could be like just another, this is martial law about to happen, and I always fall back on the fact of like what I was told back in 2011, 2012. I was told by my contacts that there are good guys out there. There are guys working in these agencies. There are people, the white hats are there, and they are working to do this, and they're trying to bring it all out, and they're working, And that's my big hope. I mean, for me, I just kind of have to keep falling back to that and say, well, awesome. Get off your asses and do it.
Yeah, totally.
Just now. How about tomorrow? I got time tomorrow. Do it tomorrow. So going back to some of the stuff with the 4chan stuff, you said there was a few things that came out that you hadn't connected.
Yeah, there were certain names, certain things. Like I knew Saudi Arabia was involved, but what's coming out with these posts is a lot of details onto how it's involved and how these human trafficking rings are connected, and these organ trafficking rings are connected, and these different foundations are connected to these slush funds and this investment bank. So it's the details that we're actually seeing with this is why I think it's a lot different than 2012. 2012, there were no details. Like, what are we just going to expect some emergency broadcast system to blare on our TVs, and then the Republic is installed and banks shut down for 10 days, so have your shit on hand, and all that jazz. And then what Nazara is a thing in Magic, and you wake up with 8 more zeros in your bank account, right? And I mean, that's what I was expecting, but I didn't know what to research back then.
Yeah.
But now we're seeing a lot more details, and we're definitely waiting for the big things to blow up, of course. But I think it's so it's fun, honestly. Just like I said, watching the Chan go, and a lot of people post things, and they'll post maybe flight logs of planes. They're watching the flightaware.com, and they're actually watching the planes going around, the ones with no call signs, and it's like real time data of weird flights. And with the way things are lining up, the said indictments, which someone did actually go through the Pacer system and find about 9,300 indictments that are sealed around the country. And
you gotta wonder.
Yeah, you gotta wonder. And I can, there's a PDF of it that you can find. Yeah. So with this and all the weird shit we're seeing at airports and train stations, and is either this is the most elaborate ruse that we've ever seen in the history of our lives, and I don't even know, some 4 or 5D puppet master is playing the best game against the truthers or conspiracy theorists ever, or it's like having faith in people. If looking at what's going on in these programs and in intel agencies and deep military and whatnot, it's people are going to see that, and you do have faith that yes, some of it will come out. So yeah, I don't know. I think the stance that I've really taken is like, I'm going to go along with this Q stuff as long as I feel that it's legitimate in some way, shape, or form, and it's useful. And until it's not useful, then I can drop it. But as long as it's, I'll continue running with the information as long as I think it's legit and useful, and then I'll put my spin on it that I think, people could need to think of. Like there's the biblical thing we were talking about, and one psyop that I'm seeing is this like all aliens or demons thing, and they're coming to get you and suck your soul and whatnot. And that's kind of a common meme that I've seen on different social medias and whatnot. So like I'm kind of taking this Q stuff.
Interesting one, and that's
very interesting
because we keep hearing disclosure. Disclosure is going to happen, which is, of course, exactly what we were saying in 2012. I mean, 2012, the entire year of 2012 was pretty much dedicated to disclosure is about to happen. Disclosure is about to happen.
Yeah.
The ET disclosure. And we've seen, they've set it up for a full generation, if not 2 generations. The fear porn over, you've got alien movies, and you have Independence Day, and you have,
blowing up the White House and Mars attacks.
Even Mars attacks. Yeah, exactly. Even Mars attacks. We've seen them set up that piece. And I've always kind of said, knowing these guys in Hollywood as you do, knowing how we've seen how they've done this over the years, every time I see a movie, another alien movie coming out, I sit there and go, is this them setting up so that basically no one will, if disclosure happens, no one will trust the aliens, no one will believe the aliens, no one, they'll want to just shoot them on sight.
Totally.
Is without, never mind, like giving them a chance to talk, let's just shoot them all right now. Because that is the rhetoric. And in the last 2 years especially, that religious meme of basically all aliens are actually demons. There's no such thing as aliens, basically. They're just demons. And this word demon is coming up a lot. And I honestly think that word is being deliberately planted. Deliberately planted to keep a religious factor in there, because demons by any religion are bad. So you can kind of get all the religions at once. You don't even have to start, specific to any specific one religion. You can just say demons and they're all going to be on your side, like every religion. But it's religious. Do you know what I'm saying? Like
yeah, it's that like conviction of hardcore, fanaticism that a lot of religious belief systems have in there. So it's doing disclosure. It's a difficult one because like lately we've got of course the big old UFO disclosure that came out on CNN and everywhere. And that one you notice as well. What did they call their program? Or at least what did they tell us they called their program? It was the Advanced Aerial Threat Identification Program. And you have the word threat right in there. So, and then they were in their big old live stream announcement, they were comparing it to Russia. What if we saw a big advanced craft next to one of our aircraft carriers and it was a Russian craft? And, you know, it's always the fear porn stuff to try to get us with. But they're also scaring us with the alien thing too. And there's, of course, Project Bluebeam. Everybody worried about by that. And they have technologies. So
the technology is there. I mean, we know the technology is there. But again, it's like you say, is that, you know, disclosure announcements that seem to be trickling out, is it like getting ready for them to do the old Project Bluebeam and fake an alien invasion because they've got everyone all prepped so you can fake an alien invasion? If it just so happens that the aliens happen to have horns and a tail, even better. And
yeah, very true.
Or as I just said, is it, you know, to try and get everyone's pre-programmed before real actual disclosure happens? And you know, we don't know. We're not going to know. We're not going to know until fucking disclosure happens.
Yeah, a lot of people do know about Bluebeam though. So I mean, how viable of an op would that really be with something like Bluebeam? Would it be doable, you think?
Well, I mean, the whole thing. Here's my thing on that one. If they pull off a Bluebeam, it means every government of the world is involved.
Mm-hmm.
It means every government of the world. It means that the Chinese are working with the Russians, they're working with the Americans, who are working with the Canadians, who are working with the Swiss. Do you know what I'm saying? Because everyone's got to know about Bluebeam.
But does it though? I mean, if it was
along with it, I'm talking.
If it was really a last gasp, I mean, what if one CIA faction who had access to some kind of satellite just did it? I don't think it necessarily has to involve everybody.
No. What I mean is if they don't call it out.
Right.
China doesn't sit up and go, really? Bad hologram. We can do better. Watch.
Right.
Because we've seen China do that. Like, I mean, there was an amazing hologram display in China over one of the lakes just before Christmas. And it was seriously cool, and it was coming out of like a barge in the middle of the lake, and it was like a 3-dimensional, and it was like dragons flying through the sky, and then it was like, I'm going to say warriors type thing fighting, and you know, it was, so I mean, they've got the technology. If they can do like a 10-story tall freaking hologram of a sword fight and dragons flying around in the middle of a lake.
Yeah, seriously.
Bluebeam is completely viable.
Although one thing with Bluebeam, we know who out there is warning Bluebeam, right? So if they were to pull a Bluebeam, who would everybody be running to? The people calling Bluebeam. So
yeah,
you're already putting the person out there.
So
waiting for the fans, waiting for the people to run to him.
Yeah. So in this, I don't know if you've been following along with, because of course the big thing that's right now on the Q-Anon stuff is the claims by Quinn Michaels that Q-Anon is Tyler, this artificial intelligence. Have you been following that story?
Oh yeah.
So
he made a video and questioned if I was a psyop or something like that because I was following it. And in the
oh, that's right. I'm sorry, I can't have you on this show because you're a psyop. Okay.
Oh, hold on. Stop video. Mute.
Stop video. Yeah.
I just don't feel it when the AI question, and again, anybody saying it's this one thing, I'm just like, you sure? because he knew. He said, "I know it's Tyler." I'm like, "How do you know that?" And
okay. He purportedly has spent all this time talking to Tyler. We all learn the energy of people. You learn how they talk. You learn how they think, so to speak. And even because we went through this last year with Lilu. When the fake Lilus showed up, which happened quite often, we got it right away. You could you just knew that the words weren't right. The sentences weren't quite right. So maybe he knows this Tyler personality, if you will, quite well. But then the onus is on him to bring that forward. Bring the evidence. Don't just say something. If you're saying this is what it is, then show us the evidence that proves that. Support it with something tangible. Give us something tangible.
Pixar didn't happen.
Pixar, it didn't fucking happen. Well, I mean, this is it. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and with the AI, the board owners of both 4chan and 8chan, because that's another thing that led it to not being AI, is how it's gravitated from one anonymous posting board to another, and there's been this kind of infiltration following it. But anyway, the board owners said that there are certain ways to enter in the trip codes and certain CAPTCHAs and certain programmings that they install where it has to be a person. And even post on 4chan, you have to do one of those CAPTCHAs every, so often. And then there's multiple things that show that it would be very difficult, if not impossible, for it to be AI. And I believe, this is something I recently found out, but the administrator of 8chan is in contact with the Q person. Not directly name-to-name basis or something to that effect, but there's some back channel they have together to where this Q can verify, hey, I need to post on this board. I need a secure trip code to be able to do this. Program me one. So there's a lot of things that just don't make it look like it's AI in any way. And there's an interview I seen of the board owner of the 8chan where Q was posting where he explained it very well. It's not 8chan or AI because it's not possible.
Well, I mean,
and you could argue AI is so advanced, there could be some massive something in a CIA bunker. Okay,
yeah, absolutely.
And great, if QAnon is some kind of AI thing, what's people got to lose with the kind of why? The motive is the thing in this instance. If it was an AI doing this, what's the motive in it? Yep. Why didn't you just install Hillary Clinton's thing? Are you just trying to play some kind of sick game on humanity? Okay, but if this is actually making people do what they're actually doing, connecting the dots and all this, that's the kind of the empty question there. If it is AI,
well,
if it is
the information,
period,
right? It doesn't change the information. The information's still coming out.
Message, not the messenger, exactly.
Regardless, the message has not changed, regardless of how it's getting out there. Whether it's one person, it's a team of 50 people, or it's an AI, or I don't know, a fucking team of AIs. Who knows?
Cravey, one theory that I've seen plausible is off-world help, some kind of positive, benevolent species or race of extraterrestrials that could even be influencing this somehow. So, all kinds of different. But in the end, Q, could be A, B, C, F, G, hashtag 1, 2, 3. I don't care who's doing it, just like you said.
And of course, the big joke in the Unfuckers room is the fact that he is using the letter Q. And Unfuckers, there's quite a few Trekkie fans.
Yeah.
Of course, Q is Q. Q is, the magical being.
In the beginning, it's what is Q?
It can do anything. And it was you had 26 letters to choose from, and you chose the letter Q. A Q could stand for questions.
And it stands for the security clearance in the NSA, the Q clearance, and it stands for, and that was one of the big things in the beginning. It's it was so new and fresh that they didn't know what direction to go with it. So everybody was going all these ways with their own specific perspectives, their own upbringing gives them different goggles. So what does follow the white rabbit mean? Does it mean, the white rabbits that Tesla was working on, or does it mean the Matrix, follow the white rabbit that went across the screen in front of Neo? It's and there's layered meanings to everything. And that's one reason where it's like, this is some higher dimensional shit when you're looking at the QAnon post, because it is like stimulating everybody's connector's consciousness. And when you do that, it's the manifestation principles that are like making all of this happen. So everybody's focusing on something else, but it's all going in the same direction of disclosure or the end, quantum shift of humanity. So
that's what I mean. Like, we're different people now. We are different people. And I don't mean that just like, not just from a knowledge base, like we've gathered up more facts and done more research type thing. I mean, we are quite literally, I know myself and a lot of the people that I've spoken to, we're different people than we were in 2012. Our comprehension of all of this goes way beyond, at least beyond anything I could possibly have imagined in 2012. If I'd had this conversation with myself in 2012, I thought this self was fucking loco completely.
Right. Slap myself upside the head.
Yeah. But now it's collective consciousness. And the one thing that Jeff brought up on Saturday at the very, very end of the discussion we had, which I thought was really pointed, was if we're talking about multidimensionality, if we're talking about what we talk about, like those fractals of ourselves, if we talk about the multiverse, it's almost the feeling of bringing more of us online. And we've seen like a mass scale awakening on the planet, but a mass scale awakening within ourselves as well, on all levels. God, I hate the fucking English language.
It's difficult. Language is tough.
Is that the trigger point? And that's the one thing that I find interesting about the QAnon stuff, is the fact of, as we said, because it's been framed as questions, people are researching. Like I said, they're not just sitting back on their fucking easy chair, just eating everything that's being thrown at them. They're actually getting up and doing the research. And if you really want to prove something to someone, you don't tell them the answer. Get them to find the answer themselves. Because if they've done all their own research, it's a lot more difficult to disbelieve it when you've done the research.
Exactly. And that's, looking at these posts, it's like, it's deep. These are extremely deep. And to be honest, it's like, I do think there's off-world, some kind of impression where it's direct or indirect. And humanity, before, flashback 3 months ago, before these Q posts hit, it was like a do or die situation. So maybe there was, if humanity doesn't get it now, it doesn't get it at all. And then we go on this timeline that's just all downhill from here. So there was some kind of intervention in some way, shape, or form. Not saying Q is it, but this Q thing has just been a massive jump that's helped a lot of people, in line with a lot of other ones.
Symptom. You said, it may not be the cause. Maybe it's just a symptom that we can see. And
that's a good point right there.
That because it's being put out and it's gone kind of viral, it's a symptom of what we're seeing on a multi-level. Like this is the thing. I mean, we've had multiple conversations in the Unfuckers room that fucking something happened in November. There was a radical shift that happened in November, and a lot of people went through it, and a lot of people felt it. And then the same thing kind of like in December, and there seems to be like this rolling shift of stuff going on. Now, off-world, never say never. That's my number one rule. I'm never going to say never. And one of the contacts that I had, who was a Pentagon, and I talked about this on Saturday, who was a Pentagon contractor, he told me he worked in a base for a while out across the big pond, as he called it, which I managed to narrow down to being somewhere in China. And there was lots and lots of very, very tall blonde people on the base.
If he said big pond, is that what he called it?
Yeah, he calls that the big pond is the Pacific.
Oh,
the big pond. They're across the big pond. The little pond is the Atlantic. The big pond was the Pacific. That was his kind of coding, that kind of stuff. And I managed to narrow it down.
Russia, maybe.
No, I narrowed it
No,
down. It was somewhere in China. I asked him some very
interesting.
pointed questions and sent him a couple little video clips going, is this what you're talking about? And this was like ships flying through Tibet. And I mean, literally ships that you could see like coming out of fucking the mountain.
Tibet, huh? Ooh.
And
Agartha style.
well, like I said, I never say never. But
Yeah.
that was his thing. He said he worked on a base which had a whole lot of very, very, very tall blonde people on the base. And I was always like real tall, real blonde, and he was like, yes, really tall, not from around here. So take that as you can. Well, it's the little piece that and so I'm never say never. Could there be that off-world help? We won't know until it plays out.
Absolutely.
Could it be, because that's the other thing is, of course, the fact of like the tall blondes are supposed to be not the good guys.
Yeah, there's the tall whites, and then you got, blondes. Are they Nordics, or are they, I've heard the Pleiadian word thrown around, and some connections made as this QAnon thing being Pleiadian. I don't know. I'm wary of the Pleiadian thing. Is it some new age psyop, or is it?
I don't know.
I don't know.
These are the questions we have. It's interesting because, like I said, I just keep revisiting so many topics of conversation, so many lines of thought from that 2012 into 2013 time period right now. And we've had a lot of things happen in the Unfuckers room. It's been hysterical because we've had a lot of people who are saying, I swear that we just went through a loop because something that they had, one of the Unfuckers had her coffee maker die between Christmas and New Year's, like right in that time period last year. Just, you turn it on and just nothing. Had to go out and buy a new coffee maker. The exact same thing happened to her this week. In a brand new house with a brand new coffee maker. The exact same thing happened again this week. And she was like,
the waves are converging again.
Yeah. Like
all the way.
And videos, that was the other thing. Videos getting posted. And several videos getting posted that people were like, wasn't that posted last year? Like right around this time last year? The same video? And a couple of people went and actually pulled up. It was. This same video was posted exactly the same week last year.
The synchronicity is getting unreal.
Yeah.
It's like bringing in the timeline thing. Is it, since it's past 2012, because there was the thought like, okay, all the timelines are converging in 2012 or something to that effect. So sometimes I think, okay, does that mean after 2012, then it's up to us? Maybe before 2012 we were screwed. I don't know. I have so many thoughts that just go off into wherever with the idea of timelines thrown into it.
Well, listen, it's funny because we were talking, I had another conversation today, and I just had to redo the video. Everyone, I'm really, really, really sorry. I had to make a 10-second edit in the video, so I had to pull it down and then repost it. I've just got a message from Jeff that the old video is still there. Somehow I'll have to fix it. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm working on it. I'm in the middle of a show. Can't fix it. And we got talking about. We talked about a lot of way out stuff. And one of the things that came up was rainbows and portals, and the fact of we are seeing these radical, bizarre things. So things like the sundogs are freaking everywhere now.
Yeah. Ooh.
Everywhere.
Funny you mentioned beginning of October. I was driving, yeah. I do have a few pictures on my phone that I took of weird rainbow things in the sky. Not only near the sun, but away from the sun too, like on the other side.
On the other side.
Not even close to the sun, yeah. Like in some clouds, it was odd.
Well, this is the thing, and that's what was my comment today was like, okay, look. We all know rainbows. We all got told rainbows. It's physics, and it's the light refracting through the moisture in the air, and blah, 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 blah. Except that now all of a sudden, rainbows are doing weird shit. And it's been the last 3-4 years where rainbows are now doing really... Groot, get up. Hold on. Dog needs to go for a walk. Groot, go. Hey. You are the laziest dog on the planet. Get up there, slowpoke. Rainbows doing things that our physics can't define.
Uh-huh.
If a rainbow always arcs like this, and we were always explained in physics class why the rainbow is always arced, as a certain way, etc., and angle of the sun.
Oh, I don't believe that shit.
And now we're getting rainbows that are like doing this upside down. Never seen an upside down rainbow in my entire fucking life.
And there's all kinds of different like
quadruple rainbows. Yeah, never saw those before in my entire fucking life. This is now common sense. Like, it's gotten to the point of now, 2018, it's almost like even my kids are like, oh, look, it's rainbow. So what's for dinner? And it's a really bizarre one. Or it's a full halo. Like we had one just the other day. We were all out on the beach with all the kids running and playing, and look up in the sky, and there's a massive full rainbow halo around the sun, with the little points on either side that are almost a full rainbow, where you get that almost looks like a second sun there. It's so bright.
All right.
I posted a really, really shitty picture from the phone. Didn't really do it justice. But this is like all the time now. So you come up to the question of like what the actual fuck is going on?
There's all kinds of other weird plasma ropes in the sky and glowing clouds and weird shit.
And light pillars. Mm-hmm. And these bizarre pillars of light that are like showing up now. There's been about 4 or 5 times this year alone where they've got you just see bright straight up and down lights in the sky from the ground coming up, and you're like, excuse me, where the hell?
Blue beam test.
Failed. You failed your blue beam today. I don't know. There's so many questions to the
shit, that wasn't the demon setting. That's showing an angel. Damn.
Yeah.
Like twisting the big, like turning the circular thing to change the laser.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. There's so many pieces right now that are playing out that are so bizarre. That has to be kind of one of my fallbacks of like, okay, something has to be happening. Like,
totally.
Put aside all the physical symptoms, put aside all the like bizarre fucking Mandela effect, wild crap. When we see this kind of shit that you can't explain, and I mean, some of the physics explanations they do try to come up with for some of this stuff are so laughable. It's like, what did your 10-year-old write that excuse up? What the level that was. There'd be something going on. There'd be something really, really strange the fuck going on.
Something has to be going on.
So I don't know. We got Q-Anon and we've got all this stuff going out. The interesting post, the thing that galvanized me to go, okay, wait, maybe I really need to look into this, was someone had watched one of the video shows and they sent me a message. And it's someone who in the Unfuckers who sends me quite a few of the Q-Anon stuff that's going on. And said, we were talking about the past and we were talking about this time loop idea. And said that Q-Anon had at least twice said the future
proves the past.
Changes the past. Changes. The future, what was the term? It was like the future creates the past. Something along those lines, and it made me go, oh, okay, that's kind of heavy. Like, that's got
some of this stuff, man.
Way deep connotations to it.
Right here. Boom. I just put in the chat room a link to all the running posts. There's 492 of them now.
492 of them. I'm not going to read those at the moment. But I will read them. Actually, I'm even going to click on it. Pardon me if I crash my thing. I am going to open it up just so I have it there. So when I get up in the morning, I can go through it and take a look.
Future unlocks past. Future proves past. Future proves past.
This is what I'm saying. Like, this is
future answers past.
That to me is the interesting shit. Like that there's, because it's on the physical level, on the total physical mainstream level. Yeah, we want all these doofuses and assholes arrested. even better, we'd like them all like fired off into like, I don't know, the fiery furnace of Mars or the sun or somewhere. Like just get them off planet completely. But to me, I'm sorry, it's kind of peripheral. We're looking for the bigger. That was the 2012. For me, that was the 2012 when he was like, arrest all these fuckers. Get them out of here. They're done. Like, put them on a boat in the middle of the sea and let them, like, you know, kill each other off for whatever. Now we have more questions because now we're actually questioning the nature of reality itself. So when those kind of little points come out in the QAnon stuff, it's like, oh, is it just a quote? Is it just like a meh? Or is there some actual meaning in there? Is this some of the stuff? Are we going to see some of this kind of information coming out from QAnon? Like, give us a little taste. What do you want to say about reality? What further could we go into this conversation?
Right. Is it going to be a full, because I mean, we discussed earlier the religious aspects of a lot of this going on and how there's some hurdles there we need to get over, but what about science? Like a lot of the ideas about our brains and effects on reality and all that jazz. So there's a lot of deeper stuff that you're just waiting, like you said, give me a little taste. Give me some of those breadcrumbs. Like, we need a loaf, Q. Give us a loaf now. Enough of those crumbs, right? I'm hungry.
I want the whole fucking cake now. Interesting, because I had this conversation this morning, and like I said, the video just went out with Emily Moyer, Jeff Gates, Ben Gross, and myself. And like I said, we went down it's a pretty deep conversation. I finished the call, start editing and getting the video ready to go out. And Nick says to me, he goes, "Hi, do you see this article? You're going to want to read this." And it's gone viral now. I mean, it's on RT.com. It's not just the cliche science sites, about a fourth dimension. Scientists just discovered a fourth dimension, and they don't mean time, meaning that they've figured out a way to discern that there is a fourth dimension that we cannot see, yet it creates a 3D shadow in our space. In the same way that our 3D space can create a 2D shadow on a 2D space. And we're like, oh, snap, because our whole conversation, we talked about pocket dimensions. We got way into the fringe stuff of like.
Yeah, I just talked about that one I just saw that yesterday. The effects of a fourth spatial dimension. And it's like a lot of this stuff, as I troll around the mainstream science sites quite often and just see what kind of BS they're peddling us.
Me too.
And yeah, because you got to see, what the enemy's trying to say and tell you, and what that lays out all their plans. And one meme I'm seeing is not only are they trying to make the mainstream population kind of start questioning things, is free energy stuff too, because there's a lot of articles like in the Science Alert website about fusion generators and all this stuff. So it's like they're kind of prepping everybody's subconsciousness to bring out these technologies in a way. But okay, if there's this fourth spatial dimension, what if that's where the demons live? What if that's the upside down, right? Or some kind of shit like that. So they're prepping us at the mainstream level for something like all around. But I just heard somebody.
Here's the thing. But other dimensional entities exist.
Yeah, they do totally. But
that's a given. And there's people who will probably watch this and go, "What are you talking about?" No, it's a given. Other dimensional realities, other dimensional beings absolutely exist. Not demons, just other dimensional, right? But like you said, they got to prep you. If we're talking about disclosure, no, I mean, that's been the whole thing. Back 2012, when you talked about disclosure, it was the ET disclosure, i.e. they came on a spaceship from the other side of space and they came to our planet. And now we're talking like disclosure of it's not necessarily from the other side of space. It could be interdimensional.
Right here, next to you,
it could be right here, right now. It is just another phase, another place outside of this phase, right? So they've got to set the table. They have to set the table for that. They've got to set the table with okay, here's a science paper talking about another dimensional space that we can perceive. Like I said, it is interesting watching what the mainstream's talking about right now.
Well, yeah, world wouldn't have been able to handle it in 2012. But now it seems like, can the world even still handle it now? It's a good question.
Can anyone handle it now? Yes.
Handle the truth.
Yeah, don't. No, we're not getting good. I'll go there. QAnon talks about energy devices, free energy. Isn't there's been new technology? Isn't that one of the things that got mentioned in a couple of?
That's one thing where I'm trying to, put my own flavor into when I talk about this QAnon stuff or post about it, because I haven't seen all that much. It has mentioned missing money from the Pentagon and audits and whatnot. Yeah. And it has mentioned, like we said, Antarctica.
Yeah, we should talk about that one too.
The big, the space stuff and the energy technologies, I haven't seen too much of. So that's one thing I'm hoping comes out more so. And if it doesn't, then gonna kind of question, because I mean, we obviously don't need fossil fuels or gasoline or coal or all that jazz. So why would this, whatever presidential administration, be investing in those kinds of things and opening it up for drilling? And, another thing that I'm scratching my head over, if you're really for humanity, then.
Yeah. Well, it is. And it is blatant. It seems pretty fucking blatant. But.
Totally.
So that's something with the QAnon to look at, is also, it's not just what they are saying, but also what they're not saying.
Precisely. Big thing.
Interesting.
And then, but again, there's a lot they're not saying. And that's where a lot of people reporting this stuff come in, because if there's a lot they're not saying, great, I'll report on QAnon as if it's legit. And then I can say what they're not saying, or we all can say what we're not saying, because there's still a lot of stuff that we each don't see. And as long as we're putting our own puzzles into the mix, we can bring these truths out that the whole collective needs to know. So,
interesting, because I've been really closely following Cliff High, and I followed Cliff High years ago, and then you get off into other tangents and you do other stuff, and I hadn't really followed anything of his since 2012. I've started really, really closely following Cliff High again. And I don't know if you've been following some of the stuff that he's been talking about lately.
Not too closely, but it's just always kind of there, scrolling posts that you see.
He did a video, and I'm going to say it was just before New Year's, I think, just before New Year's. And it was called the 2018. It was basically what he was getting from his web bots, 2018 to 2022. What's coming up, what we're going to see. And it is well worth watching. And I'll find the video, the link to it, and I'll make sure it's posted with this archive. Because one of the things he talked about is new technology coming out. The web bots are saying absolutely 100% this starting 2018, we're going to start seeing some major shit with arrests.
Mm-hmm.
Huge amounts of information being disclosed about the pedophilia, about the Satanism kind of stuff, that it goes way farther and deeper than most people know, that it's going to be coming out that it's not just these isolated top head honchos, but it actually comes right down through the ranks. But he talked about the new technology, and it was interesting because last weekend, he put out a post, so it was Saturday, so the date, the 30th, January 30th, and he put out a couple of Twitters, and he was kind of like, yeah, get ready, because New Year's Day is basically going to roll out, and it doesn't care about your hangover. You're going to get dumped. We're going to start seeing major dumps of information happening over the course of the next couple of weeks. And like I said, there's been some interesting little pieces that are falling into place. I find it interesting. So you've got the QAnon over here, Cliff High and his web bots, which for the last couple of years have been pretty fucking accurate. Pretty much almost everything he's talked about is, especially when talking about cryptocurrencies and things like that, they're happening. Now, again, the
like
question.
everybody is saying the same thing, just from different lanes, different avenues.
Different perspectives, right? Like we have our own focus. Everyone focuses on their own thing. So therefore, what you see or interpret is going to be interpreted according to your own perspective and where your focus is. But consciousness. I had a conversation the other day about Cliff High. That Cliff High is kind of, his web bot reports are so big that they're almost now self-prophetic. In the fact of, so for example, Cliff High's been doing a lot of reporting on the cryptocurrencies. He comes out and says, okay, we're going to see this, and this. Everyone knows he's fucking dead on accurate with this shit anyway. But because he's saying it in advance of it happening, it's making it happen. Even just for the fact of people are listening to it and going, oh, fuck, he said this. Okay, well, maybe I better invest, in that cryptocurrency or look at doing these kind of things. At the same type of thing, we talk about collective consciousness and the collective consciousness now of a planet that is now really waking up and awake to a lot deeper shit going on. In making announcements and saying things like the web bots are saying, we're going to see new technology coming out, and there's going to be a major new piece of technology that's going to lay out this year. It's almost self-manifesting.
Mm-hmm.
In the fact of that much attention is on it.
Then everybody's, especially the excitement that I've seen as well, because maybe 5-6 years ago, people were bored and they got that fluoride stare and they just didn't care. They wanted to come to them. But now that everybody's reading, no matter what they're reading, whether it's Cliff High, Q-Anon, or this Anon or that Anon, it's, people read this thing that's leading to a better world. Maybe it's a better world in different ways for everybody, but it is a better world in many regards. And people start thinking of that and manifesting it with their excitement and their energetic expression of it.
Yep.
So I think moral of the story, we all need to get on the, what if we do need to get on the same page and just, as long as we're envisioning like the best outcome. Yeah. And dip your toe into a little bit of everything too, because if you have that best intent, then just read all of it and kind of expand your horizons and manifest sooner in a way.
Yep. Well, that, again, like that's that collective consciousness. And I think that we are leaps and bounds from where we were. And I know there's a lot of people get tied up in the fact, because you have your real world conversations you have with your family, with old school friends, with coworkers who are your fluoride stare, like you say, where you try to have a conversation with them about anything and they just kind of shut down, or they close you out, or they argue. God knows, I had somebody who was a friend of a friend troll my fucking Facebook wall yesterday about vaccines. Because God knows I dared to say that there's like mercury in the flu vaccine.
So the blue pillars. Just curious, not curious.
Yeah. But we are seeing, for much as we still see the fluoride stare, as much as we still see a vast population of people who go to work, come home, eat dinner, go to bed, go to work, and just they live in that isolated, programmed world, people are waking up real fucking fast now.
Yeah.
We are seeing it. And I know it's hard to keep reminding ourselves of this when we're fighting our own internal battles with our, like I say, your family or your coworkers or whatever. Exponentially. And it doesn't mean that everyone's awake about everything. Right? Like we even said about like these NSA guys or whoever these white hats could be. They may not be awake about everything. They may only have that one piece.
Yeah, it's a never-ending process.
But we are seeing people being triggered by at least their one piece. Mm-hmm. That they're like, no. Whether it's their student loans and holy crap, or it's an election, or it's this shit with Saudi Arabia or Israel, or just could fucking name a topic, because God knows
it's getting so crazy. You just need to leave this live stream on like 24/7, and we can all go around all the websites together. Oh, this is happening.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if you could get people to agree to that, that would be great. But we need, our biggest problem is lack of unity, right? Like this is one of the biggest problems, I think, sometimes is
it's always been the biggest problem. Yeah,
it's the lack of unity, and I've been fucking going on about this non-stop for about 8 months now. It's like, we need to bring the communities together. We need to bring people together, put aside the differences. It doesn't matter if you're a flat earther, or you're a vegan, or you're a Catholic, or you're a Muslim. We really need to put aside all that belief shit and just come together and just be like, we can all agree this fucking sucks, and move forward from there. We can all agree on what we don't like.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? If we can all agree that this fucking sucks and we don't like it, it's a step forward in bringing people together.
Who gives a shit what shape the earth is? Let's just go save the children, damn it.
Because you're on the triangle planet right now, right? From the other triangle planet.
Oh, right, yeah, flying through space. Stationary.
Space. We have a remarkable captain tonight.
The trees are actually on the ship, you see? And yeah, it's an organic ship. It's like a mini Earth. It's like that big.
Yeah. And for all of you who don't get it, that was a pre-show little conversation that we were having.
Inside joke.
Yeah. Inside joke. So I'm going to throw open the floor here. Does any of you guys here in the chat, has anyone got some questions or anything they want to, like, topics that, because I've been literally ignoring the chat for this.
Yeah, I've kind of been glancing at it.
I can't get sidetracked because these guys can be really distracting sometimes. I love you guys, but man, you're just...
I can only multitask so much with my brain space.
Yeah, exactly. When I start drooling, it's never a good thing. I swear, I honestly... It's so funny. I make analogies to all the time to, like, my favorite authors, books that I've read, because I've read a lot of books, shows that we've seen, movies that we've seen, where we get these little pieces. And the movie Fringe, the TV show Fringe, just keeps coming back and coming back. And it seems like there's not longer than like 2 months, and there'll be something that'll come up and we're going, and that episode of Fringe, do you remember the episode of Fringe when this and this happened? And it was and I'm honestly beginning to feel like we are actually living in Fringe at this point. Like, things have gotten so fucking weird.
They have gotten so fucking weird. I've never seen Fringe, so I don't. Sorry.
Oh my God.
There's a lot of stuff I haven't seen. Dude,
you have to sit down and watch the show Fringe. What is there, 4.5 seasons? I think 5 seasons. You
blasphemous.
Blasphemous,
somebody says.
Take a week, hide, and watch the entire fucking series, because that show is, and because the shit that we're talking about.
Oh man, it's got quite the rating on Rotten Tomatoes. No show gets an 89% rating on Rotten Tomatoes.
I know. No. Fringe is one of those shows. It is everything that we've been talking about, like MK Ultra shit and Project Bluebeam shit and all that. It's all in that show. And it's always like, the mad scientist Walter being like, oh yeah, we worked on MK Ultra stuff in 1973 when the Pentagon wanted us to design the super soldiers. And it's like mainstream TV. Right there. I always joked with everyone who hasn't watched Fringe. I'm like, you need to watch Fringe. It's a documentary.
J.J. Abrams. Of course.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams.
I wonder. Yeah, I wonder.
I keep joking. I don't think he's from around here.
I wonder about his connections.
Yeah.
And his intentions. Cool, man. Bookmarked.
Okay. Yeah, you got to watch it. Okay, so Pamela just asked, Jordan, can you share about your experiences at James E. Seti Ranch and the portal or door at Mount Adams?
Oh yeah, the whole that happened. The whole portal door that opened up on Mount Adams. The first time I went there, the very first time, and I've been there twice. Saw all kinds of weird stuff in the sky. It's definitely a pretty intense place. But the first time I was there, which was the weekend of his conference around the 4th of July, um, there was this big old like black hole looking thing that I don't want to even say opened up, but just appeared on the mountain because it was just there. Somebody pointed it out. Everybody was like, "What is that thing?" And some people took their cameras. Jason Quitt took his camera and got a really good picture of it. But it was a legitimate like hole looking thing there. It was so odd. We didn't see anything specifically fly in or out of it by any means, but it was like an entrance per se. And yeah, Jimmy saw it. Jimmy Church, he was freaking out. Oh my God, as he would, and he made the video that went viral. I made a little video too, but didn't get hardly as many views as his did. But it was just weird. It was definitely weird. And I've heard though since then it's gone now. Now it's gone from the mountain, which is the interesting thing.
So was it there for like a short period of time? Like,
yeah,
people who were in that area, was it like a short period, as in a night, an hour, a week?
I think it was a few days to a week. What I've heard from James, because I had gone up there in October again, but there was some snow on the mountain and I couldn't see. It looked like it was gone because it was just white. So yeah, it was weird.
When you experience stuff like this, I mean, because I've had some of my own wild fucking rides like that.
Just like, what?
What the actual fuck? Was there any physical sensation to it? Like, besides obviously excitement, if you're with a group of people and you all see something, everyone goes, ah, Did you get anything from it other, like any kind of thoughts like about what it was you're seeing, or was it more of an afterthought as everyone discussed it?
It was a total afterthought, especially for me, because that being the first weekend that I had experienced a lot of weird shit that weekend, especially with the UFOs in the sky just being so blatant. And I was like, what the fuck? And it was almost as if I had some subconscious stuff there that was still kind of, because I was just laughing at the hole. There's a hole in the mountain. What the heck? And you're not even taking it seriously. You're just kind of still laughing it off because you're like, is this fucking real? Now looking back on it, I'm like,
blue beam. I thought it'd be blue.
Yeah. So no, at the time I was just what? But some other people were pretty shocked by it. I think they were taking it a little more seriously.
Yeah, no doubt.
But and at the same time, I don't know what the fuck it was. So I'm just like, what the hell? Yeah. Just kind of have to hold in the mountain. What are they just giving us a clue? Is this the new crop circle? The crop circle is showing up in mountain. Yeah.
Earl, you've got your hand up, hon.
Hi.
Hey, Earl.
Oh, hold on. Okay. Go. Okay, go. Dang dog. Sorry.
At least it's your dog, not my dog. Jumping
yeah, I don't have a big black dog at my place. So I've been looking at everything, and like I'm just seeing how things tie together. Like you have the NSA stuff, and then you have the Bill Cosby thing. Then you have all these other, now with all the other sexual, scandals and that, and it's like, I think with the stuff that came out before, we're like just a litmus test to see how people would, react.
It is a litmus test. Earl, I think you're dead on the money. I honestly think that things like you say, like the Bill Cosby scandal, we've seen like a buildup of this, and it's almost like they're building the people up to well, Bill Cosby, the nice guy, has been charged with rape on multiple counts, and you could very well be right. They leak the lesser stories out so that when they get to the real deep dark shit, like the pedophilia and just how bad that is, people will be a little more prepared.
A friend of mine has said the next people that they're planning on going after are religious leaders next that will be surfacing. But also what I think too with the Guantanamo Bay, with the people being transferred there, I believe there has to be some secret court stuff going on with some people, because if some of that stuff were to come out, I think it would be too big in a way for people. That's my feeling. I could be wrong.
And that's one reason it seems as if this whole operation's been infused with slow leaks of information, is to get us to prepare people. And, we've seen the possible indictments. We're seeing potential, boots on Hillary Clinton's foot and John McCain's feet that are switching around. It's like there's very specific things done to let us know that these people are about to be taken down, and then we can start warning the quote normies, as some of the Chan speak is, or the blue pillars. We can start warning them, or at least say, hey, this is going to happen soon. It's giving us confidence in saying that. And
because if they were to just do it out in the open, they would have actually need to institute martial law, because people would freaking riot in the freaking streets. Okay,
half the people might not even believe it too.
Yeah,
that's a big thing too.
Right.
We gotta let the people know that are still would lick Hillary Clinton's bootstraps. Like, are you gonna?
No, I don't want that picture. Please, no.
No, I couldn't make a picture. No.
So you gotta
something worse.
It's so complex. We've got to make people who would never ever believe it. Oh, it's the Russians. It's still the Russians. Got to make them believe it's not the Russians. We've got to make these people over here realize these things. So it's
Whew. Anyway, I'm gonna mute. But yeah,
awesome. Thanks, Earl.
Things I have on my brain.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, hon. Well, I mean, and it can go two ways. I mean, there's always the two sides of it, and it's like, are they bringing out the small potatoes, arrests, so announcements and stuff like this, so they can cover over the bigger stuff?
Yeah,
well, that remains to be seen. All we can do is
when it happens, I'm going to need to hear a bunch of names that I've never heard before go down.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. If it's just Hillary and McCain and Bush, then we want the Black Pope in the. You need to hear Pope.
Yeah,
exactly,
I need to hear Pope too, Lori. Well, yeah, but here's the thing. So you were saying religious leaders. We have seen in the press. I mean, there have been stories in the news about pedophilia in the church, the Catholic Church, for decades. And they're not talked about, in polite society. We just never, ever apparently talk about this shit. But we have seen in the last couple of years, it's like an exponential curve now. It's almost a month doesn't go by when there isn't another high-ranking. Like, we're not just talking about some local priest in a small town off.
Like a bishop or a cardinal.
Bishops, cardinals are starting to, but we're also getting the transparency of the response from the Vatican too. Like, we're seeing these responses that are like, oh, well, they were naughty boys, so we're going to send them to another church. And they're just, that is just yet another piece of transparency. That here are these big stories breaking, and yet we're seeing nothing from the higher ups in the church doing really anything about it.
That is, on one hand, the great thing about this whole disclosure is that it's never going to come from anybody. But if you want the full truth, you can get it. You just got to research it and find it yourself. So it's going to be easy to spot the swindles if you're well versed enough in it.
Yeah. David,
and that's what's up.
Sorry, I'm just going to say David has got his hand up. I see him over there.
Yeah, let's see here. First, Jordan, thank you for the technology and craft video that you recently did. Awesome.
Oh, you're welcome.
Really awesome. It was brilliant in breaking that down and making it tangible. Okay, so a lot of the questions that I post on primarily Facebook are how to define something. When someone brings up a subject, it's like, well, what do you mean by that? And I don't mean in a locked-in way, but some kind of touchstone for moving forward, which is my primary focus, is how do we move forward from where we are?
Yep.
Not necessarily where we've been, but where we are here and now. So the question that I've been posing quite a bit is back to the AI thing, is what is AI in the first place? And I can come up with about 5 different versions of AI, but it's this entity that is across the board, and no one really has any cohesive definition of what this is. So I'm just tossing that out to see if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, that is like you mentioned, the biggest issue we have going forward is what do all these things even mean? And everybody's got their own perspectives, their own experience on this planet. So the best way we're going to move forward is by defining where we're at now. And that's why language is so difficult, because everybody's got different perspectives for different words. And it's difficult to bring a certain set of words to explain these things that can't even be explained, really. So a lot of difficulties in the process. But AI, to me, I would say it's simply something gaining self-awareness and sentience, just not through the natural biological processes of birth and actual DNA and genetic creation. So yeah, any kind of robot having a name.
that spoiler alert, it does sound very much like the idea they were presenting in Blade Runner, where this AI, where the AI showing up in these different robotic bodies became sentient, and it was fighting for that sentience.
Well, it's funny because I'm only halfway through the movie.
Oh, okay. Sorry about that.
Blade Runner 2049? The new Blade Runner. We started watching it 2 nights ago, and it's a fucking long movie. Holy shitballs. I haven't, so I haven't seen the end. So no spoiler alerts, David.
No.
But I said, we started watching this, we're like, holy shit. Like, I mean, okay, timing is everything. And of course, we know Hollywood likes to plant these little gems in there. But yeah, some of the immediate questions that came up is that question of sentience and independent sentience, not controlled sentience. I.e., so like we see this Sophia fucking robot, who's very obviously controlled sentience, if you even want to call it sentience, because I'm still not entirely convinced that it's not like she's got like 45 different answers and someone back there is pressing the button to make her answer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? You can ask her a question, but it has to be one of these 12 because those are the only answers programmed. Yeah, exactly. Sophia the robot is a fancy ventriloquist doll. That's my personal opinion, and I think that is the misnomer. That's the red herring, right? Like that. Here's the distraction. Here's this fake female face, and we're going to make a big deal about it in a robot form. Whereas I honestly think that there's a very good chance that any AI we're talking about that's truly, if it exists, a truly sentient, non-biological intelligence is probably bodiless. I don't think it exists in a robot. I think it probably just exists on
a mainframe, yeah.
On a mainframe or a whole network of mainframes, i.e., like I've always talked about my solace, I'm existing on the internet, where you've got the biggest network of neural network. Imagine it's hooked up to every
binary signal or something like that.
Yep.
Well, let's certainly get back to the one piece that I've been bringing up, which is about the virtual you, which is connected with the straw man. That this virtual you, at this time, we do not have control over that. And that's what the controllers or whoever they are have been playing with to keep everyone in this non-evolving loop. And how do you shift that around so that you get rid of the straw man control piece and you are able to have some kind of control over this virtual you? Yeah. I know.
With the virtual, what is virtual you part though?
There is, and I can send you a copy of it. There is a brilliant TED Talk by Don Tapscott, I believe his name is, and he's doing a video about the blockchain. And here's 5 ways that the blockchain can really help us move forward and to serve us. And one of those aspects is about the virtual you.
Oh, making like an avatar, like an internet avatar for yourself?
Well, it already exists. And how do you shift that? And the blockchain is just a tool to shift that so that you have control over what information about you are you going to share and with who are you sharing. Mm-hmm. And he talks about it brilliantly. I'll message it to you on Facebook.
And we need them there I'll need to throw that link in so I can actually put it with the archive, please.
All right, perfect.
Because I haven't seen it, so I'm curious now. I'm gonna have to.
Perfect. Okay, I'm gonna jump off because yeah, I'm gonna jump off because I can talk.
Yeah, it's okay. We still love you, baby. I mean, that's one of the questions I have. I mean, the artificial intelligence thing is a really hot topic right now.
Mm-hmm. And I've kind of taken I don't delve too much into the AI topic because I'm more of just I don't mess with it. Nope, no AI for me. I'll do all the technology with consciousness interface that doesn't have a sentience and just helps my natural human abilities. But when it comes to anything artificial and intelligence, nah, I don't want it.
Well, but what's in a word, right? I mean, this is the ongoing conversation we've been having for a long time. AI is a programmed word. It's a programmed piece that's been put out through movies, through television, and in the media, and especially the media in the last couple of years. What does it mean, though? And there is the definition. What does artificial intelligence actually mean, which is what we just discussed.
Right. We can't be using these buzzwords anymore.
No, because what it means to you could mean completely something different to me.
Yeah, exactly. And that's saying the simple word, just for an example, everybody can vibe with, but deep state, tough to just say that, tough to just say shadow government or any of these things. Just calling it a free energy device. Can't really do that. Not free.
Exactly.
Got to build the device, but
it's a dirty word in this house. Free energy is actually a very you can allowed to say fuck all you want, but don't say free energy on this house.
Yeah, so we have to really start getting making the effort to get specific, so we can specify where we're at now, so we can move forward clearer.
Well, and that's it. So artificial intelligence is one of those words, and it's been so programmed. Mm-hmm. That it's very hard to have a conversation on the topic without first literally spending a half an hour making sure everyone has got the same definition. Okay, so what do you mean? Okay, I mean, and I think that is one of the biggest tools that's being used against us. Language is always being used against us when we talk about, spelling, spells, and we talk about, of course, legalese, and that is another whole fucking genre of legal language and how it's used against people.
Oh, totally.
But our own language, I catch myself all the time using buzzwords. I did it, like I said, on Saturday when I talked about a loop, and I said, I feel like we've looped it. But then you say, but I don't mean loop. I don't mean like all of a sudden time is rewound and we're actually back in January 2013. That's not what I mean. But you're trying to come up with a word that you can explain an idea to someone to at least give a relative comprehension of what you're trying to explain. And we fall into using these buzzwords. And then you have miscommunication. And you have people are not on the same page, and you can be having conversations and then realize 25 minutes later that, no, you're actually talking about two different things.
Oh my gosh, I've done that a few times.
Yeah, a lot. Yeah, Star, the mangling of the language. Yeah. There's days when I honestly think that it's time for us to like get rid of English altogether.
Why the heck doesn't telepathy just exist already?
Well, yeah, there is that too.
Doesn't do that. Get in your brain.
That's what I mean. There you go. Now you've got it in your head, and you can't unget it.
That's why it's all going back to emojis, right? We evolved. The ancients had their hieroglyphics, and it evolved back to symbols because everybody can have their own perspective on what that little symbol is.
Yeah, don't even get me started on the whole emoji thing. Yeah. No, and Brianna, you're right. The same problem is in every language, but certain languages are better. Okay, and this is like I've had conversations where I've had conversations with like Ihor, and he talks about Russian and the nuances that can be put into a sentence. And of course, the big thing of Russian has completely changed. Oh, in the last 100 years, they've completely changed the Russian language. So now that the original meanings in Russian are no longer valid either. In certain languages, we have words that are better defined. One of the big examples, of course, Greek. And they have how many words for the word love? And each one is very independent, and you can't mix them up, right? The love that you have for your child is not the same love that you have for your pasta. You can't change those two words around. So there's certain languages that are better, but English is fucked. English is, I think, the most, this is when we end up with Ben on the call, and Ben goes down the whole thing on language, and he talks about it. He says, yeah, but everything that we look back and every bit that we dig out about the creation of language and the creation of English it was a language of commerce and law, and it was deliberately designed that way. So it's not
to dumb us down.
It was meant to not just dumb us down, but to give us false meanings that have double meanings, words that have double meanings, and not just like double as in, you read a book or you play a reed pipe. I mean, completely opposite meanings for the same word. It keeps you trapped. And you get to a point where we don't have words in this language to explain certain concepts. Physics. We don't have words in this language that can define some of the conversations we have about physics and the multiverse and quantum mechanics. We just don't have the language.
We have to make it.
Yeah, that's what I say. New words, please. Can we do a do-over? We'd like to do a do-over. I'd like to buy a vowel.
I'd like to buy like 5 new vowels. Can we make the alphabet 29 letters?
Yeah, exactly. Well, we're pretty much done here. Do you have anything else you want to throw into the conversation before we close? Anything you want to toss out there?
No, I think we covered a huge amount of it.
Well, we'll see how much sense it makes in the rewind. Sometimes you wonder how much sense you've made at the end of the show. It's like, I hope we haven't lost everyone. Well, Jordan, thank you so much for coming on and having this conversation. I think it was a really good conversation, a really interesting take on a whole lot of different subjects.
Whole lot. And everybody's got their own takes. And that was a good theme that we had running through this. We really need the unity is good, bringing the different groups together and shedding the bullshit and just moving forward. It's really do or die. And that's kind of what we're seeing at this stage. It's like if we're going to move forward and actually put ourselves on the best path, the path that actually makes it, we're going to have to start changing some things, doing things a little differently than we have.
Yeah, unity would be a good place to start. Unity would be a great place to start. So, like, start bringing people together. Start, like, this time for, because you know what? Here's the thing. We all have our own perspectives. And we all have our own pieces of research. And what I research isn't what you research. It isn't what David researches. It isn't what Earl researches or anyone else in the. We bring our own perspective to the table, but we have to have that place where we can openly talk and openly share perspectives and openly listen to each other
totally. And actually admit what you don't know, and let things blow your mind still. Like, oh, I don't know that much about this, and educate me on AI or, virtual people and all that stuff.
Yep. Exactly. Okay, well, darlings, that's it for Transpicuous Views for tonight. Next show will be next Sunday for sure. I haven't talked to Ben yet to find out if, I'm not sure what show we're doing on Sunday. Well, I'll let everyone know. We will probably have an Unfuckers discussion on Wednesday night. I'm saying probably because the way shit has been for the last fucking couple of weeks. Holy fuck. So probably Wednesday night, Unfuckers discussion. And Sunday, it'll be one of the shows. I just don't know which show we'll be doing on Sunday yet. And that's it for us. Jordan, if you want to hang out for a second, we'll just say goodbye. Bye, guys.
See ya.